Alright, so now we have our model completely textured and it has some other maps and so other textures to help add some details to it. Now we need to be able to move this character around, and to do that we need something that's called a rig. So first of all, let's go back to layout. And in here, let me change to this one, select box, and also to viewport shading. Okay, so a rig basically is something that we use to move parts of a character, to move a complete character. And this is basically done by placing bones. So everything that you want to move in your character is going to need a bone. Unless you use simulations, but in this case we are not going to use simulations, so things that we are wanting to move, we are going to need to add bones to it. And to add these bones is actually pretty simple. We only need to press Shift A, and then instead of going to mesh now, we are going for this armature. Then when we click it, we are going to create a new object called armature, and also a bone in the center of the world, actually where your 3D cursor is. And this bone is going to be pointing up, like so. But here we have a little bit of a problem. This bone is kind of hidden inside the character. So for example, if I move it here, I cannot see anymore. And I would need to see it so I can place it in strategic places, so I'm able to actually move this character around. And to do so, we are going here in this object properties, and then we are going to open this viewport display and check this in front. Also, I'm going to display it as wire so I can see through the bones as well. Alright, and next one, I think that we are going to need to place the bones in the correct rotation and correct position, let's say. And with the correct name, we are going for this object properties here, which is this little green man. We are going to viewport displays, and in this case, we are going to click name and also axis. So it's going to show the axis of the bone. It is different from the world, as we can see, the axis pointing to the same place, but the Z and the Y is not. And this is quite important in some cases, so it's very good to have it shown here. All right, so just like the object, if I want to make some changes to this armature, I will need to go to the edit mode. So I'm going to press tab and then edit mode. Now I'm able to move parts of this object. So I can select the base of the bone and the tip of the bone like this, or I can select the body of the bone. And when I select the body, I select all of it at the same time. One thing that I like to do when beginning a rig is to keep the first bone. I like to first name it root. So pressing F2, and one thing that I can't forget here, because it's going to be very important, is to show you what are the keys I'm pressing. All right, so F2 to rename, and then keep it at root. Another thing is when working on the edit mode of armatures, I like to change it from global to normal here. And this one, the pivot point, I like to move it to individual origins. So this way I'm going to move the bone around the base of it. So for example, here, if I press R, I'm going to move around the base. All right. So another thing that's very, very interesting and very good for animators is to keep the root aligned with the world. So for example, here we have the Z pointing to the Y and the Y pointing to the Z. So it's not aligned to the world, because that's what the world alignment looks like. So we can do the same with this bone. And for that, I'm just going to press R and 90. So R, type 90, and there you go. Y now is aligned to the Y, Z is aligned to the Z, and X is also aligned to X. This makes the life of animators a lot easier. So this is basically for the root. Alright, now that we have the root, this is going to be like a controller. So this is not going to be deforming anything. This is just here so we are able to control all the things inside the rig, all the bones at the same time. So if I scale it up, all the bones should scale together. Alright, now let's place our first deformed bone. And for that, I'm going to actually press Shift D so we duplicate the root bone. And then I'm going to keep it here. So I'm going to press Z just so we only move on the Z. And I'm going to keep it right here. So in the base of the model. And then I want to grab here this part and place it up here as well. So for that, I'm going to select the whole body and rotate it up like this. So this one's going to be minus 90. And then I can scale it up so it goes all the way to the top of the head. And this one, we can change the name of it because this is not the root. This one is the head. So I'm going to press F2, head. There we go. Nice. But then now let's check something. If I go to the pose mode, so I'm going to press tab and going down for pose mode. Here is where we are actually going to be able to pose the bones and see how the mesh deforms. The mesh here is not going to do anything because we didn't bind the mesh to the armature yet. But we can test some things first. And one of them is, when I move the root around, I should be able to see the head moving around with it. And that's not happening. So I can move the root, I can scale it up, and nothing happens to the head. That's basically because they are not parented and they are not connected. And to do that, we are going to press Tab, go to Edit mode, and then I'm going to select first the head, and then Shift select the root, and I'm going to press Ctrl P, and in this Make Parent menu, I'm going to choose this Keep Offset. So this way the head bone is going to keep in the same place. If I don't use Keep Offset, let's see what happens. So I'm going to press Ctrl P, connected, the head go all the way down to be connected to the tip of the root. And that's not what we want. We want the head to keep in the same place. So again, Ctrl P, Keep Offset. So it's going to create this dashed line. And this is basically saying that this guy is connected to this guy. So if we go back to pose mode again, and now we move the root, we see that the head moves along with it. So I can rotate the root and the head moves together with it. Very nice. So now that we have the head in the correct place, let's go again back to edit mode. And we are going to create the other bones that we need. And for that, we first are going to find where to place it, where to place the arm bones, for example. I want the arm bone to be here exactly in the center of the arm. And to do that is pretty difficult if I use just my eyeballing techniques. Actually, I would say that's nearly impossible. So what we are going to do is go to object mode, select the robot mesh, and then we are going to enter edit mode. And then we are going to select here this arm socket that we've created. I'm going to press 2, and just so I'm able to select all of it regardless of seams. So now that we have it, I'm going to press Shift S and then cursor to selected. This way we are going to get the cursor to the center of this object that we have selected. And we can also use the 3D cursor. So going back here to object mode, select the armature and go to edit mode. Now we can also use this 3D cursor position to add a bone. And this is basically what we are going to do. So we are going to press Shift A. And when pressing Shift A bone appears right where we added the cursor. And now what we are going to do is to get this tip here to be at the end of this arm here. And to do that, we are again going for object mode, select the robot, and then go to edit mode. And then here I'm going to deselect the thing, so Alt A. I'm going to also deselect. Actually, I don't need to deselect this. I'm just going to press Shift Z 1 to see the vertices. And then I'm going for the center one right here. So I have this little dot right here. I'm going to select it and then Shift S, cursor to select it. Now we can go back to object mode. Oh, there we go. Select the armature, tab edit mode. With the tip of the bone selected, we can press Shift S and then selection to cursor. And then it's going to be placed exactly where the cursor is. Nice. But now this arm is basically a single huge bone. And as we know, our arm, for example, is not a single bone. It is made up of multiple bones. And in the case of this robot, it's even more. So I'm going to not duplicate, I'm going to subdivide this bone. So I'm going to right click it and then subdivide. And I'm going to open this panel here up and make it a little bit bigger like so. So something like 3 subdivisions should do the trick. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 bones in total. All right. So now that we have it, we also need to rename it to make it be a good, so we have our armature with a good naming. And for that, we are going to select here first the first bone of this chain. Going to press F2, and this is going to be the arm. But in this case, I'm also going to add that thing that Blender does when we duplicate things. So 0.001. And I'm going to copy it. So Ctrl A to copy and Ctrl C. So Ctrl A to select everything, Ctrl C to copy, and then enter. Why? Basically because now I can simply select the next bone, press F2, Ctrl V and enter, and it's automatically going to make it 0.002 for us. And then we can do the same for the other bones. So here the same thing. And here the same thing. There we go. So this way we have arm 001, 2, 3, and 4. And let's take advantage that we already have our cursor here, and let's create the hand bone. So I'm going to press Shift A, and as we can see, this bone is huge and it's not aligned to these bones here. So I'm going to rotate them 90 degrees. All right. And also going to scale it so it becomes a little bit smaller. And also, as we can see, here we have the x-axis pointing down. And in these other bones here, we have the x-axis pointing to the, let's see, to the front. So this is not very accurate. So our bones don't twist like that out of nowhere. So we should have the bones actually placed following the same rotation of the previous bones. So to do that, what we're going to do is select this bone and then shift select this one, and we are going to press Ctrl, Alt, and A. It's a pretty big one, but there we go. Now it is aligned to the previous bone. And let's also change the name of this guy here to be the hand. There we go. Nice. Now let's test something out first. Let me go to the pose mode. So tab, pose mode. And then again, let's move the root. Okay, so the head is moving, but the arm is not moving. When I move the head, I want the arm to be moving around with the head. So to do that, we actually did the same thing with the head and the root. And that's basically the same thing that we are going to do now. So tab, edit mode, select the arm first. So the first bone here, shift, select the head, and then Control P, keep offset. Now let's go back to pose mode. Let's move the root. Oops. Okay, the arms are following the head. But if we look closer, the hand is not following the arm. So we need to do the same thing. So let's go back to edit mode. And in this case, I want the hand to be connected to the arm. Then I'm going to click the hand, shift, click the arm, the last one, Control P, and this one I'm going to choose connected. All right, so let's test again, selecting the root, whoops, tab, pose mode, let's move, yep, everything is moving together. And if I move the arm now, yeah, the hand is moving along with the arm, which is pretty nice. Okay, so now the last thing that we need to do for the arms is the fingers. So let's go there, edit mode. And then I'm going to use this guy here. Actually, I'm going to get the hand. And this one, I'm going to press Shift D and then bring it somewhere around here. Should be fine. And I'm also going to grab the tip here of this bone and bring it all the way to here. And that should be good. Actually, before I do it, I'm going to keep the hand like this. I'm going to select it. And then we need to do the same thing that we did here. So get a bone from the middle to here, but actually mirrored. We need to get now another bone, but from the same distance from the center here, but now going down. And to do that, we are going to press Shift D. So we duplicate this bone, right click to keep at the same place. I'm going here and I'm going to change it to a 3D cursor. So I'm going to change the pivot point to the 3D cursor. So it's going to act as the mirror point. And then now we can press Control M of mirror, and we can see that the Z is the axis that is pointing up and down. So we are going to press Z and click to apply. And this way we have these two bones in the same direction, actually the same place, but mirrored. So now what I'm going to do is just making these bones a little bit bigger so they get all the way to here. So I'm going to select that one and this one, Shift S, whoops. Now let's change this guy here back to individual origins and then scale it up like this and we are good. But the way it is at the moment, since we copied the hand, these fingers here, they are following the arm. They are not following the hand. And we would like them to follow the hand, not the arms. Because, for example, if we move the hand and not the arms, the fingers, they are going to be still in the same place. So we need to select both bones and then select the hand. And what is going to happen is all the selected bones are going to be parented to the active bone. So we can see that this one is like an darker orange and this one is like a brighter orange. And it means that the hand is the active bone. So I'm going to press Control P and keep offset because I don't want the finger bones to move. And of course, let's change the name of the fingers, because now it's a hand.001 and we don't want that. So F2, finger, and this one is going to be the top finger. So I'm going to add underline, top, and then this one, finger, underline, bot. All right. So now this way we finished the arms. Now we are going to do something quite similar, but for the legs. And for that, let's see what we need to do is we are going to object mode, select the robot, and then tab edit mode, because we want the leg bone to be in the center right here. So in the center of the joint. So I'm going to select the whole joint, pressing L here, then Shift S and cursor to select it. Let's see, it got to the center. It doesn't look like it because most likely we have something else selected. So I'm going to press Alt A and then L here again, Shift S, cursor to select it. Nice, now it is in the center. Then we can go back to object mode and then select the head here, for example, or the armature from here. Tab edit mode, and then we create another bone. So here, Shift A to create a new bone. And then we now want the tip of this bone to be in the center of this joint right here. So we are going to do the same thing. Let's go back to object mode, select the object, go to edit mode, Alt A to deselect everything, select this joint, Shift S, cursor to select it, tab object mode, select the armature, and then tab edit mode, select just the tip of this bone, and then Shift S, selection to cursor. And there we go. Now we have the first bone of the leg placed in the correct place. Nice. Now we need to add another bone coming from here to here, and then another one that's going to act as the foot. So it is going to be from here to here. And to do that, we can press Shift A and add another bone and stuff like that, but we can also use the extrude option. So I'm going to press E to extrude, and I can move this one all the way to here, for example, and keep it there for now, because we want to get it to the center. So again, tab object mode, select the robot, tab edit mode, Alt A, L in the joint that we want to be centered on, Shift S, cursor to select it, tab object mode, select the armature and go to edit mode, select just the tip of the bone, Shift S, selection to cursor. And there we go. Now we have the bone placed in the correct location. And for the next and last bone here, we only need to press E and bring it to somewhere around here. We don't need to do anything more than that. This is completely fine. And we have the leg complete. But first, let's change the names. So this one is going to be the upper. So let me change this. Upper leg. This one here is going to be the lower leg. And this one is going to be the boot. Very nice. So now let's test things out just to see if it's actually working. So go into pose mode, select root and move. The leg's not moving. So the leg should move with the head. If we move the head, the leg should go along with it. So tap edit mode, select the upper leg, and then shift select the head, Ctrl P, keep offset. Now everything should be fine. So going back to pose mode, select the head, move. Yep, that's good. Root, move. Nice, that's it. All right. But we still want to add a little bit more of a control to the leg, because at the moment, if we want to move the leg just like it is a walking, for example, we would need to move like this bone first, then this bone, and then this bone, one by one, like this. It's possible, we can do that, but it's a lot of work, and there is a better way to do that, which is using IKs. IK is like inverse kinematics. And actually, it's more complicated to explain than to show, so let's see what it does. I'm going to press A here and then Alt G, Alt R, and Alt S. So this way I clear all the transformations that I've done in the pose mode. Okay, so let's go to edit mode. Right. First, for an IK or inverse kinematics, for an inverse kinematics to work, we first need a target for it. So let's create this target. To do that, we are going to click here on this joint, and then I'm going to press E and then Y twice. So Y again. So we get bound to the Y of the world. Since we have it at normal, we need to press it again so it goes to global. All right, so now that I have this guy here selected, I want it to be parented to the root. So shift select the root, Control P, and then keep offset. Nice. So now we can take a look at what it does. Let me go here to pose mode and change the name of this guy here because at the moment it's lower leg. Let me just call it IK, or actually leg IK. That's going to be the name. Now what we are going to do is select this leg IK and then shift select the lower leg, and we are going to press Control, Shift, and C, and it's going to open this big menu here. But the only thing that we are going to need at the moment is this inverse kinematics. So I'm going to click it. And when I move it, we are going to see something pretty weird happening. And that's because it's yet to be set up. So I'm going to right click to get it back to the original position. And then I'm going to click here in this bone constraints. And going to select this yellow bone here. So now we are going to see that there is a constraint. And this constraint is the IK constraint. Here, since we want the IK to affect just the leg, we need this chain length to be the size of the leg, which is, in this case, 2 bones. It has the size of 2 bones. So one here and then one here. So the yellow one counts as the first one, and then the ones up will be adding up to it. So here, since we have 2 bones, I will change this chain length to 2 and press enter. Now when I move this leg IK here, you can see that it already moves just like a step for us. And so we don't need to move the bones individually. We can just move the target, and then the 2 bones up are going to move in a way that they are going to try and reach the target. But still, I want now the boot to follow the same rotation as this control here. And to do that is pretty simple. We are just going to press Tab, Edit Mode, and then select the boot and parent it to the control. So Shift select the parent or the leg IK, Control P, keep offset. And there we go. We can go to pose mode, and then when we move, now the boot is going to keep the same rotation as it had before, following the leg IK. Okay, that's very nice and all, but there's still a problem, which is this guy here. Sometimes it tends to flip around. So for some reason in this one, it doesn't want to flip that much, but just in case, if we want to rotate the knee, for example, we can add a target around here. So we are going to know where the knee is going to point to. And this is called a pole target. So this pole target is the next thing that we are going to do. And that is basically we are going to edit mode, and then we need to add another control just like this one, but up here to where the knee should be pointing at. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this control here, and I'm going to Shift D it and bring it up to around here. And that should be fine. Okay, and let's change the name of this bone to be pole target. There we go. And another thing that I want to do is when I move the IK, I want this guy here to move together with it. So I'm going to parent the pole target to the leg IK. So Shift select the leg IK, Control P, keep offset. There we go. Now if we go to pose mode and we move this guy here, nothing different is going to happen because we didn't add the pole target to be the target here yet. And then we are going to click here, choose armature, and we are going to search for the name of the bone that we want. And in this case, it's pole target. There we go. We click it and our leg flipped. All right, to fix it, we are going to change this pole angle. And this is going to be, when we rotate it, we can see that it's going back to the position. And this is going to be around minus 90, like so. And there we go, it is back to the original position. And now, one thing that we are able to do is when we select this bone and move it around, we see that the knee is trying to point to it. So that's why we use this pole target. It also helps when the leg is flipping. So, for example, if your leg is smaller than this one, it might be more prone to flipping. Or if you didn't do too much of a bending like this, if it was a straight leg, it will bend. Like it won't know where to bend to. So this pole target is the one that's going to save your life. Alright, so now that we have all of it set up, we still have a little problem, which is we did just the left side of the robot. So when we look like this, yeah, left side of the robot. And we still need to do the same thing for the right side. We don't need to do all of it again. We can use the tricks in Blender. And to do that, we actually need to do something first, which is go to edit mode. And then we need to add a suffix to all the left bones, telling Blender that these are left bones. So I'm going to press the right click, the mouse, and then I'm going to choose names and auto name left, right. And then we can see that Blender automatically found that this is the right side, and it added .l suffixes to all the bones that we have selected. And this way, now we can do something that's pretty awesome in Blender. That is, we right click and then choose this symmetrize, and it gets all the bones to the other side. So if I press tab and pose mode, we can see that the IK is also there and it's working just fine. And that's basically it. Now we have all the bones in place, and in the next video we are going to start binding the bones to the mesh, or actually binding the mesh to the bones. So I will see you there.